When we're working with trauma, especially we are working with parts or somatic memories that often we can't really name. There's often just a feeling of overwhelm or strong somatic sensations, bodily felt sensations. Focusing is a very powerful way to help us slow down and bring a kind attention to that can sometimes be an overwhelming experience or kind of a fuzzy, hard to name experience, the ones that we usually try to ignore. We can do lots of things to bring us back up into our head, to get us away from our body. When we get into relationship with these sensations, something starts to shift. The body starts to feel heard. And when the body feels heard and it can be held in this way, it begins to let go. We start to be able to trust our intuition, to trust what our body is telling us. Connecting with the felt sense, that subtle body-based awareness of something that is not yet fully in words, is a powerful, powerful way to process trauma because trauma is stored in the body. Welcome to Psychotherapy Central, where we explore love, attachment, trauma, and the path to secure, connected relationships. I'm your host, Jennifer Nurick. Hello everyone, and welcome to Psychotherapy Central, the podcast where we explore the inner world of healing, relationships, and secure attachment. I'm your host, Jen Nurick, clinical psychotherapist, author, and passionate student of the human soul and psyche. There is nothing that is more interesting for me. It's what I've been involved in the past 25 years. Today, I'd like to introduce you to a gentle yet powerful somatic process that I first bumped into about 20 years ago when I was studying energetic and spiritual healing. I was doing a diploma, and it profoundly transformed my relationship with my body. So if you'd have said to me 20 years ago, Jen, do you feel disconnected from your body? I would have said, no, I know when I'm hungry, I know when I'm cold, I know when I have menstrual pain. I would have said, no, I'm quite in touch with my body. But there was a different kind of connection that I was completely unaware of. And it's called focusing. This was something developed by somebody called Eugene Gendlin. Now, if you've ever had a gut feeling or a tightness in your chest that seemed to hold more than words, then that's what we're exploring today. So Eugene Gendlin was a philosopher and psychologist who worked closely with Carl Rogers. And if you've done any psychotherapy training at all, you will know Carl Rogers. He's one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century and a founder of a strain of psychology called humanistic psychology. And he developed what's known as person-centered therapy, a kind of therapy that really places the client at the center. And the client is the wisest person in the room about themselves. So in the 1960s, Gendlin asked a powerful question. He was really curious. He saw in his own practice and that of his students that some clients, patients made a lot of change and other people really didn't. And he asked that question, what is causing the change? Is it the therapist? Is it something that the therapist is doing and they don't even know that they're doing? Is it the client? Is it the modality? Is it the setting? They really didn't know. And so this posed kind of a research question for them. And they started to record thousands and thousands of hours of therapy sessions. And they started to compare them, what the therapist was doing, what the patients were doing. And he discovered something surprising. It wasn't the technique or even the therapist that made the difference. It was whether the client had access to something he came to call the felt sense. And it was a vague bodily knowing of something that was not yet fully in words. So those people would kind of pause and turn inward and they would sense into their body. Those were the people who experienced powerful change. So in a session, it sounded like Or my mom called and I saw her number on my phone and I just panicked. I did not want to pick it up. And even as I talk about it right now, there's this kind of tightness in my chest and I feel a bit nauseous. And the tight chest and the nausea are somatic bodily felt sensations of the situation that this person is in. And he then wondered if people who don't do this naturally could learn how to do it, would it help them? Would that shift their therapy and their experiences of themselves and relationally and of the world? And he found that people could learn how to do it, that they could learn how to listen to the felt sensations in their body and experience the same kind of transformations that others who did it naturally in therapy experienced. So out of this insight, he developed focusing. And that is a 6-step process to help people connect with and unfold this inner knowing. It's really not about analyzing or fixing. It's really not in the head. And that's what I love about focusing. It's embodied. It's about listening deeply to what the body already knows. So the felt sense isn't just like, well, I'm angry or I'm sad. It's much more subtle and complex. And often as you start to connect with a true felt sense, it's often quite murky and unclear. And often you have to kind of grapple for the right word that resonates with the feeling of it. And it can often be quite hard to describe at first. So imagine that you're standing at a fork in the road and you're trying to make a decision. And you feel a tension in your stomach and you can't explain it, but you know that it's pointing towards something, a kind of a truth, a knowing, something's not right in my stomach, I can just feel it. And it could show up in lots of different ways in the body, and it doesn't necessarily speak in words, but if you pay attention and you stay with it, there is an unfolding that happens. And often I'll warn clients, as we stay with it, that felt sensation might intensify, might grow stronger, and that's okay. We'll just be with it together. We'll just stay curious and open together. And this unfolding is where insight, clarity, and healing arise. So you're interested to hear about the 6 steps. Jen, what are the 6 steps of focusing? So you can find these online if you want to go a bit deeper. So here they are for you to listen to. I'm just going to walk you through them. So step 1 is clearing a space. This is where you pause and ask, what's between me and feeling okay right now? And you notice the things that are there in your body. You're not diving into them yet. You're just acknowledging them. So this might sound like, I'm aware of a little bit of tension in that indent in the lower part of my throat. I'm aware of a slight dull headachy feeling at the back of my head. And a little bit of something in my inner ears. So I've just done that live now. I just scanned my body and those are the pieces I'm picking up. Step 2 is we choose one felt sense to move towards and get to know better. So we don't think about it. You feel it in the body. So right now I can feel that dull sensation at the back of my head's moved into my forehead. So I'm just going to focus there. The 3rd stage is we find a handle, which is a word or a phrase or an image that really captures that felt sense. So it might be a tight coil, or it might be a fog, or pressure, or fluttering. So I'm just going to check now with my own forehead right now. And the word that comes up is, pressure. And it's kind of orange and it has almost like tentacles on it. It's a little bit tentacly. Then I'm going to resonate that back with that felt sense. So I'm just going to resonate back pressure. And I'm going to resonate back that image of the orange and the tentacles. So if you get it does something that doesn't quite fit, you just adjust it until there is an inner yes, that there's a resonance. So I'm just going to stay with that a bit longer, that orange tentacle. It's thinner than tentacles. It's not like an octopus tentacles. It's much more like thinner, more like at the end of a nerve, more like that. And it's like energy is kind of shooting down and back, down and back. I'm just going to check that back. I'm going to resonate that back. Yes, there's an inner yes. So that's step 4, resonating. Step 5 is asking. You gently ask the felt sense, what's this about? What's the crux of this? And then you wait. And this is really the heart of the practice. You're waiting for the body, for the felt sense to speak. So I'm just going to do that live now. What's this about? It's about busyness. And it's about having lots of little bits of me, lots of bits of my energy in lots of projects. And it's very detailed, even down to making myself tea, breakfast for the kids, making sure everyone has the right clothes, planning holidays, business ones, client ones, emails. It's like lots of little, it's not a panicky feeling, but it's just kind of a holding that's causing a type of pressure. So I'm just going to check that back. And as I check that back, it echoes down to the base of the skull again. It's telling me, there's like a weight. It's just saying it's a lot. It's a lot. And then what comes automatically is this image of me in the bath. And last winter, I took a lot of baths in salt water after a big day. And I started to read The Gift of Therapy by one of my favorite therapists, Irving Yalom. And it was so delicious. I made myself a nice warm water with lemon in the bath on my own. And sometimes my husband would come in and chat to me, but most of the time I was just in there on my own, reading that book. And it's got lovely little chapters, so I could just get a little taste here and there. Or I would listen to music. It was a real time to relax. So I'm going to check that back now with that part in my head. Would it like more of that as we start to move through winter? Yes, very much. And I can feel an exhalation coming, which is always for me means there's been a shift in my system. It's been a shift. So I'm just showing it. And did you hear the gurgling then? That's the somatic. Something has shifted inside of me. It's so good to do this live. I'm not going to edit that out. I hope that you heard it. There's a gurgling in my stomach and an organic bubbling in my throat. That, as I said, I've acknowledged, yes, winter is here. It's here in Australia. And that there's something about being in that warm salt bath, taking that time for myself, that helps this part that's holding a lot, just gives it something that it really needs. And it's shifting into yellow. And it's just relaxing down. And another gurgling in my stomach. Perfect. So that's the asking. And that's also step 6, which is receiving. So I just received whatever came with acceptance. I'm not trying to fix. I'm not trying to push it in any direction. Just this image came of me in the bath. And I haven't been in the bath really since last winter. And that's me building a relationship with my inner world. So it is incredibly simple and profound. So the first time I learnt this, I was doing a diploma of energy healing. We learnt the process in class, and we must have done it in a 60-minute segment. I came home, maybe a couple of days later, I had a bit of ovulation pain. And that's something that I regularly got. So I thought, I'm going to sit down and do that thing that I learned in class, that focusing. I sat down and I just went through the steps. Maybe it took me 5 minutes max. And then I got up to go and make dinner. And I thought, hang on. Wait. Pause. Has anything changed? And miraculously, I couldn't feel any pain. The pain to start with had maybe been about a 4 out of 10. So like a proper cramp, but not terrible. But it had completely gone. And that just, you can find I'm struggling for words. How do I even describe that? I had grown up in a world in council estate England in the 80s. You had period pain, you took a Panadol until the pain went away. When the Panadol wore off and when I had strong period pain, it would be, 2 hours on the dot. It would be back and I would take more. So the very idea that I could talk to a part of my body and the pain might go away, I would think that you were absolutely crazy. And that for me started a lifelong relationship with focusing. So I'm actually a focusing instructor. I did a 2-year teacher training program on focusing, and I train therapists in focusing. So if you would like to learn focusing, and you can do that as a professional, you can do it as a layman, both. I take both because it is such a gift. It's a 6-week training program, and to find out more about that, shoot me an email or check out my website, www.psychotherapycentral.health. Next thing I wanted to touch on is why somatic work and focusing, because that's the one that I know from the inside out, is so powerful for trauma work. So when we're working with trauma, especially we are working with parts or somatic memories that often we can't really name. There's often just a feeling of overwhelm or strong somatic sensations, bodily felt sensations in the body, right? Now, focusing is a very powerful way to help us slow down and bring a kind attention to that can sometimes be an overwhelming experience or kind of a fuzzy, hard to name experience, the ones that we usually try to ignore. And, we can get quite creative in how we try to ignore things that happen in our body. We might start drinking, we might start shopping, we might get on social media, we might get on some of the dating apps, right? We can do lots of things to bring us back up into our head, to get us away from our body. And in our culture, there are many ways that we can deny what goes on in the body. Please, miss, can I go to the toilet? No, you need to wait for another 20 minutes until the end of class, right? I'm really hungry. Can I eat now? No, you need to wait until 12 o'clock. That's the time that we eat. So there's lots of very subtle ways that we start to shut off the bodily sensations. So when we get into relationship with these sensations, something starts to shift. The body starts to feel heard. And when the body feels heard and it can be held in this way, it begins to let go. We start to be able to trust our intuition, to trust what our body is telling us. We know to answer a question, I'm not sure about that at the moment, can I get back to you? Because we know that we need to sit with our body for a little while and listen to the strong sensations that came up in the body. So connecting with the felt sense, that subtle body-based awareness of something that is not yet fully in words, is a powerful, powerful way to process trauma, because trauma is stored in the body. I'm going to list a few ways of how it helps. So some trauma is non-verbal, and so is the felt sense. When trauma occurs, the rational brain often will go offline. We go into an older part of our brain where we can freeze or fight or run, and we can save ourselves. We go into complete survival where often our rational brain is switched off. And the experience of this overwhelming event is encoded not in kind of narrative memory, but in sensations and images and body responses like tightness or numbness or trembling. And the felt sense can give us access to these, they're called implicit memories, the ones that we can't talk about yet, but we do it through this very gentle body-led awareness. So you might not know why you feel a lump in your throat or a tightness in your chest, but if you stay with it in this gentle, curious way, something emerges. And we'll talk about doing it alone and doing it with another person in a moment. So focusing is deeply trauma informed because focusing and felt sense work invite you to slow down and they let the body lead. Often when we've experienced trauma, it's been too much, too fast. So this is a very reparative experience for the body, and we don't need to relive the event. You just need to feel what's happening in this moment and to be with whatever is happening right now in a safe and curious way. And I have seen this again and again through 20 years of using focusing on myself and with clients, the intuitive way that the body will process through and give as a gentle offering exactly the tolerable amount, a little bit at a time. And focusing is a very safe way to hold stressful moments. And I know sometimes I'll have people come in and say, Jen, I really want to work around this car accident. It was incredibly, incredibly stressful for me. I know there's a lot of trauma in there. And in the first session of focusing, it might be all about that time that I dropped my ice cream and my dad shouted at me when I was 7. And it's kind of the body and the psyche giving us something less charged, easier to hold together, as a way to kind of step into the process so that the whole system can assess safety. How safe are we doing this? How safe am I as the client? How safe am I with this particular energy field that's in front of me? Yeah. So there might even be a few sessions like that, ice cream dropping like sessions before we even touch on the car accident. And that's just perfect. And we deeply treasure that in the space, and we trust the body's innate wisdom, the innate wisdom of the psyche. And that's where this work is so exciting for me. And lots of therapists who I work with, they say the same thing, that they love going into this space of exploration where we don't know what's going to come up, but there is this deep faith and knowing that together we can hold whatever comes up. And there is something about that gentle presence that kind of creates a condition for healing without the overwhelm, the presence of the client, but also the presence of the therapist, that there is a part of you, and I like to think of it as like the soul energy, that infinitely compassionate self is holding the trauma in a different way, almost as the observer, being held by a self, sort of a safe and regulated you, and that heart center of the therapist as well. I hope I'm describing this well for you. And I hope you can hear my passion for it. I absolutely love this work. So focusing builds a very different relationship with the body. Trauma often teaches us that the body isn't safe. And I find this, the younger and more intense the trauma happens, the stronger this sense is that the body is unsafe. And we learn to disconnect, to dissociate, to override the bodily felt sensations and know that that is adaptive. When something really scary is happening, we do not want to be inside of our body. We do not want to feel all of this. So it is so adaptive to disconnect, to dissociate. And we can develop behaviors that help us to maintain that disconnection from the body. It might be an OCD behavior. It might be numbing through alcohol. It could be shopping. Yep, lots of ways to avoid feeling the body. And focusing is a very powerful way to start to reverse that, to help you start to get in touch with your body in a completely different way. It kind of says you can come home to your body. You can trust its signals. And that in itself is healing, especially for people with developmental or relational trauma. Like I was saying before, we don't just kind of jump in straight away. We titrate. We go in slowly. We do what is tolerable and manageable for the system. And the system will just kind of give whatever is the material that is perfect for today. So focusing allows this organic unfolding. When you stay with the felt sense, Gendlin talks about a forward movement emerging. And you saw that today when I went, and then I stopped to explain what was happening, but I could feel the, yeah, that was the forward movement in my system. I have this awareness now, this deep self-care piece that I just didn't have before I came on to record this podcast. So thank you so much for inspiring me. The divine, whoever's going to listen to this, whatever energy is pushing me to do this, has actually given me a gift. I get the gift of that warm bath and the reading. So there is a forward movement, and that didn't come out of my head. I could maybe have thought that up, for sure, but it wasn't from a thinking place. It was from an emerging place. Yeah. When we've experienced trauma, it has stripped away a sense of control. And focusing can help to restore choice and agency. And it restores it by giving you a choice to go in, to pause, to come out, to wait, to work out the right distance from this felt sensation. You're not pushing through. The whole energy of focusing is not pushing. The energy is holding. It's being with. It's compassionate. And it's building trust in the inner world. Even if that trust was broken long ago, know that it can absolutely be reestablished. And I've seen this happen hundreds and hundreds of times, where that trust starts to be rebuilt. And it is so empowering. Over and over again, I have people come into my office and they say, I was stood at the bus stop, and I had this, and this person came up, and it just didn't feel right. I didn't feel comfortable. And I just decided I'm going to walk away, and I'm going to pop into a shop, and I'm going to catch the next bus. Jen, I have never done that in my life. I've never had a felt sensation like that I could really trust and know with clarity exactly what to do. It's life-changing, really. And if you've never experienced it, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I would love that, and you know what I'm talking about, then I really invite you to explore this style of work, this somatic style focusing work. So if this is resonating, let's have a little play around. So because it's experiential, this work. And maybe just place a hand on your heart or on your belly. I'm going to place it on my belly. I'm going to ask, how am I feeling in my body right now? And then you're just going to wait. And not for thoughts, but for that bodily sensation. Don't worry if it's vague or unclear. Just be with it. Just accepting whatever comes, and it could be a word. It could be an image, felt sensation. Just being curious. I'm smiling. If you're watching YouTube, you'll see me kind of smiling, and it's because mine's giving me like an image of a big kind of washing machine moving like that. And I've eaten more in the last 2 days I've been away and down the south coast from Sydney. And I've eaten more than I normally would. And I can see my stomach trying to process it. We're trying to process through the food, Jen. I can tell lots of warm water for me for the next few hours, not too much eating. Yeah. So just accepting whatever comes with openness. Okay, and then I thought we might dive into some common questions about focusing. So quite often I hear, how do I know if I'm connected with a real felt sense or I'm just thinking about my feelings? Well, number one, you know, because there will be an actual felt sensation inside your body, like tension or tightness or discomfort or gurgliness or messy. Lots of different words can come out, but there will be an actual felt embodied feeling that goes with it. It's not just a cognitive feeling. Second, why does the felt sense feel so vague or hard to access at first? I think that's because we're not used to it, because we're not trained in how to look inward and go inside. I think that for most of us, it's a new thing to do. So there's a time of like learning to roller skate, of adjustment, getting like exercising the right muscles. So I think that's why it can be quite hard at first. And also, when we've experienced trauma, especially in our childhood, it can really impact our capacity to have something called introception. And that's being aware of what's going on inside of us. So for some of us, there'll almost be this allergy to, we'll be kind of allergic to knowing what's going on inside of our body. Yeah. And that can be really exemplified in things like eating disorders. When they're very strong, there is a real phobia of anything going on inside of my body or even to do with my body. Yep, sometimes that can be very strong. Jen, can focusing help with anxiety or panic attacks? Absolutely. I've seen it do incredible things with anxiety and panic attacks, because it's a part of our body that is sensing danger, and we are taking the time to check in with what's going on inside of us when that happens. This can be a great thing to bring into the therapeutic relationship, because the therapist will be able to hold you in that experience of a past panic attack so that you can explore what's going on inside the body. It can be quite difficult to do it alone, to go back there, but with a regulated other, and especially a trained professional, can be much easier. And once that's processed through, when the anxiety starts to drop, when suddenly the panic attacks fade away, it creates such a strong feeling of internal safety that can be quite hard to even describe. Very strong internal safety. Jen, what if I don't feel anything in my body? Is something wrong with me? Okay, this is a great question, and I really hold a lot of empathy for yourself with this, okay? If you don't feel anything in your body, it could be that you are stuck in kind of a freeze response. It could be that there is such strong disassociation for different reasons that you really feel very little in the body. And my invitation here is to have a lot of compassion. There is nothing wrong with you. Your experience will be like this because of things that happened. And I know this because I've seen it again and again, even with clients who say, Jen, my childhood was fairly good. Nothing much happened. And we might start digging in, and actually the way that you were punished could have been quite challenging. There might have been actually a lot of neglect, which is unidentified, because we lived in a lovely house and my dad was a doctor and you know, we ticked lots of boxes. But actually, when I was distressed, no one was there for me. Nobody spoke about emotions. I went to my room and I played on my own. Yeah, lots of things can cause this disconnect from the body. So you can absolutely just start where you are, and it's a very slow defrosting process. Again, I would highly encourage you to work with somebody where there's a resonance, where you feel safe, and start that work. It is life-changing work, because as your body starts to defrost, the life that you are able to create for yourself starts to change. You can be in different situations and feel safe inside yourself. So a situation that might have terrified you in the past can then feel okay. Like for me, I still remember 4 or 5 years ago when I first recorded a video for a project I was doing. I recorded it, no joke, it must have been about 16 times. And when my husband came home, I burst into tears and said, I can't even watch it. I was so distressed. I was so stuck in shame and dislike and a version of self-hatred, right? That I found it really difficult to do that. Clenching in my chest, I felt sick. I hated the sound of my voice. It was really difficult for me. So through some of this work, through really focusing on it, you can absolutely change what you're able to do. And now as I sit here, I feel an expansion in my chest and I feel a joy that I get to share this with you. Whoever wants to watch, wherever it goes, just set it free. And there's an excitement there. So what is possible in your life is going to change. It can't not, because things that you were sensing, your nervous system is sensing as dangerous, your body, mind, energy fields start to sense as safe, right? So Jen, how is focusing different from mindfulness or meditation? It sounds kind of similar to things that I've done before. Yeah, it is kind of similar. But there is a relational quality to focusing that is quite active and relational inside. I'm forming a relationship with myself and parts of myself versus a passive observation in mindfulness where thoughts are kind of just floating past and I'm not attaching to the thoughts. So the quality is quite different. And I've taught this material to fabulous yoga teachers who have said, Jen, this is so different to what I've learned in yoga. I've learned go in, go through, be in it. And yes, that is absolutely a way to process through, but this is just a slightly different way. This is a being with way that can bring huge transformation and gifts. Jen, do I need to see a therapist to do focusing or can I do it on my own? Great question. You can absolutely do solo practice. You can have huge transformation doing it solo. You can use guided audios, and I've got some that I'm going to link to in this episode. And there is also something powerful about co-regulation in trauma healing. Having a regulated nervous system there with you as you do the work. So my recommendation would be do some sessions first with a therapist if you have access to that. And you can find somebody online through the Focusing Institute. It's something that I do in my practice. You can see me. I would recommend do a couple of practice sessions first so that you get a felt sense of what it feels like. Then for lots of people, it's easier then to do solo. And I will bracket this with, even if you have a partner if you do this with a partner, even if they don't say anything, they just listen to your process. Most people say that they find that more powerful than doing it alone. And I wonder if there's something about just being witnessed, having someone else hold a loving heart space for you. It might be, I'm not sure, but that's my insight around that. Jen, how can I use focusing when I feel overwhelmed or triggered? When you're overwhelmed or triggered, the first thing you need to do is to anchor some kind of felt sense of safety, which might mean getting out of the room that you're in, moving away, to notice I'm overwhelmed, I'm triggered. And then your next question would be, what am I feeling in my body? And then you can go through the 6 steps. I need to clear a space and moving through the 6 steps. It's great to use when you're overwhelmed or triggered. And what I find happens is that often then I can go back to the conversation or back to the thing that triggered me. And what my insight from inside of me is different. And what I can share with the other person is completely different. Yeah. So thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If you want to go deeper, I've created a free guided focusing audio that's called Somatic Healing, the 6-stage focusing practice. You can download it at www.psychotherapycentral.health/anxious-attachment. It walks you through the 6 steps gently and slowly with examples. And if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review or share it, give a 5-star rating, hit follow. And if you know someone who's learning to listen to their body again, you might want to share it with them. So until next time, keep listening, keep healing. With much warmth and love, Jen.